For a while now I've been trying to refurbish my old Imperial Guard regiment, add on to nice new paint job, always trying to change up the colors and see what we can come up with. And so far we've got mostly the first platoon finished right here. We've got 2 squads of regular base infantry, we've got 1 squad special weapons, we've got 2 officers actually, 2 platoon officers specifically, a little unique looking. We've got this fella right here, standard everything. The only difference is we have a converted power sword as well as a bolt action head. I think this is from the officer of the SS kit right there. Only $10 for a sprue, so not too bad for a head compared to buying third party and eBay hunting for little bits of heads. But this one's actually pretty easy to make because this sword bit right here is from the command sprue, but unfortunately they have that bionic arm right there. But we got this tip right here by cutting off that, wasting the rest of it, and using the handle from the chainsword on the basic platoon pack from the sergeant. Now, if you had a really thin cutting wire, you might be able to save the robotic arm if you for some reason want that, but I just clipped that out as a loss, take this guard off right here, shave it off really easy, and we've got a blade. Then after that, I try to cut right above where the sleeve meets the arm so we don't damage the hand any. And right there, I'll try to cut right underneath the plating for the vent, straight across, shave it down, clip it on. You gotta be real careful if you want the guard to stay on there because that's a really brittle piece. If you do cut the guard, and I've tried that before, you just gotta clip it down here and clean it up and you'll just have one without the guard. Works quite nice, gotta be careful what glue you use on there. But I thought he's a really spiffy looking officer. The one little bit of detail I like to add too is when they have their pistol out, I like to show that in their holster. As we see, no pistol currently in there. It's one of those things that kind of take me out of the mood when it doesn't has that, should I say, lack of realism to it. The second officer is a bit more unique and he's got a bit of way to go. This is the fencing saber from the Blade commander. He's the only one that has a right-handed weapon for melee and a left-handed pistol. He's got both the las pistol and a bolt pistol for the left hand, and we gave him more of a fencing position. The hand I just took from one of the heavy, no actually that's from the basic Cadian platoon tack. It's the hand that actually connects to the rifle that slings over their shoulder with a bayonet attached to it. So he's got a bit of an on guard. I shall have a TK file Xenos. And the head is from the Panzer Grenadier officer on a bolt action sprue. So, very unique looking officers. As for the troops themselves, these heads are from a shop called Miniature Conversions on Shapeways. And if you're not familiar with Shapeways, there's this massive industrial printing place. I believe they're based in New York. If you have an object you've created, you can upload it to them, have your own little shop, and when people buy it, you get your charge, they take out their cut, people get the stuff shipped in the mail. Now, not all of them come out looking great. The way they make this, sometimes there's dust all over it, and it's almost impossible to get off. I've tried all kinds of cleaners, LA is awesome. I've even put actual acetone on that plastic. It won't dissolve it, but it won't take the dust off. I've put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, broiled it, boiled it, and only turns it white, doesn't do anything. If anything, it makes the dust worse. I think it actually soaks up the liquid and becomes more prominent, like it crystallizes. The only way I've found to do it is you got to get really fine grit sandpaper, at least 1200 plus, and sand it down, and then take a really sharp scalpel and try to get the dust out. But these all weren't too bad. These were just a bit of sanding and scraping, and these helms look pretty good. There's still some little bit of dust in the corner that I've been able to get to a minimal amount. If we can get a look at the head, it comes in 2 variations. There's the standard rebreather, and then there's this one right here that has a little camera on the edge. Now these heads are smaller than the regular Cadian heads, which are oversized. We don't have the tridome look at all. Looks very sleek and modern. I like them because I think most people like the rebreather helm, so you don't have to paint the faces. You can just slap paint on that and have them good to go. The other thing is they're not as small as the Forge World helms. They're actually slightly larger than that, so they are actually more proportional. And I'll show you on this fellow right here. This is one of the sergeants. I'm trying to make the sergeants stand out a bit, make them look like characters. This fellow has a head from the German bolt-action Panzergrenadier head. And he also has the helmet hanging in his hand from the officer upgrade sprue. Put a little accoutrements like the bayonet on there. Gave him full pack, got that Forge World pack. Now you can only get them, since it's discontinued, you can only go to recasters for those. Gave him full kit, full gear, holster, everything like that. But the thing I like about the bolt action heads, they're not as bulbous or thick as the Cadian helms, so it actually looks like the helms will fit appropriately onto their heads. And this is the look at that basic helmet without the camera on it. Looks quite nice, looks very sleek. You can really batch paint them heavily because you don't have to worry about trying to tone flesh up. Trying to go with the new age of Cadian gear came in, so they've got Vox comms and targeting systems on there, but some of the older Cadians like their old helms since they're vets and pros, and the newfangled machines are messing with their soldier senses. And this is my nice little, another custom sergeant right here. Since he has the eye patch on, or it could be an optic, he's kind of leaning to the side, aiming real careful with the pistol. And the other thing I try to do is drill these barrels in here. I'm not one of the people who'll be like, oh, you gotta drill your barrels, whether it being ironically or unironically. I think that's just an ass thing to pop into a thread when someone's talking about models to say, but I just want to make these guys as detailed as possible. Only reason I'm really doing that. He's got a little purity seal on the side, making them really stand out and pop, as well as giving them all command squad arms so they have a little bit of color to them. Now there is one thing I forgot to mention on these guys. There is the prominent shoulder pads. Very nice. Very resin, actually. These are from Victoria Miniatures. They fit right over the old ones quite nicely. I suppose if you've got an extra ones that come on the vehicle bits, you could use those in a pinch, but they just give this nice ballistic vibe, makes them seem more armored. Very cheap too. They're like $1 for like 10 or so of them. And they also have these nice groin guards as well. Very well between the belt right there. Definitely put super glue since they are resin. You use plastic glue, these things are going to pop off if you drop them on the floor. Ballistic, both shoulder and groin guards. Very cheap, very affordable. Makes your guys stand out, look nice. Very good, especially if you're doing a Kazarkin conversion. Really goes the extra mile. And it was kind of funny because about a few days ago, the Games Workshop Warhammer Fest was releasing a bunch of stuff, and people were raving, oh, they got new Cadian stuff. And I was like, wait, the Mad Lads actually did it. They gave us new Imperial Guard. Unfortunately, they didn't. It's just an upgrade sprue, which is kind of nice, but it's kind of like, it's not bad, it's not good. It's like okay level of disillusionment, because even though the Cadians still look pretty good. Their models still hold out even today, but they do have this weird mold line, and how should I say, even though I believe they're supposed to be injection mold, it looks like there's some degree of slippage on their models. Like some of the parts are just not quite even, especially on the guns or the barrels. You've got this weird angular trapezoid, like they're not straight, as well as, especially in the heavy weapons team, some of their faces, I've noticed recently, they're coming out looking really pitted or not as detailed, or they have weird bumps and gristles in it. For some reason, as old as their kits seem to be getting, the quality doesn't seem to be rising on those. So I would at least ask for them to upgrade the kits a little bit, not the whole design, but clean up the excess way they used to do their old kits. Would go a long way to getting these guys cleaned up and ready. But I was looking at those new kits, and I really like the sniper rifle without the cloak, because the cloak on the command squad, it looks nice, but it's a bit bulky, and sometimes it doesn't line up the way you have, so you've got to fill that thing with putty really carefully, and that's extra time. You don't want to be building these guys, especially if you're just trying to actually get an army done. The special weapons like the multi-melta and the plasma gun, they look relatively same to the command squad one, but they don't have that weird, ugly badging on the side, which hopefully they're a bit more proportional, because the Forge World ones were rather small. They were about the size of the Laz gun they have right there, maybe a little smaller. But the command squad ones, especially the plasma rifle, are comically large. I was hoping they would find a mid-ground and make them a bit more proportional. And the heads, as far as the heads were going, not overtly wowed by the heads. Okay, they're heads. They're more heads. That's nice. But I think the main thing people want are the rebreather heads. There's only one of the old Kazarkin style rebreather helmets in there, so these things are going to be worth their weight of gold on eBay. The other one I liked was the one with the cards in his helm. That was actually a nice touch. The new comm guy's helm was not bad. The field cap for the sergeant was pretty good. Other thing I noticed, they actually have a full bolter with strap on it. Technically that's nice, but you could have made your own. I've made a few of these before. You just take an old Space Marine bolter, you take the arm from the flame sprue, just cut off the flamer, fit the bolter in, and it pretty much looks the same as the thing on the sprue. But that's fine. The other one that looks really weird is they've got a power sword, and it looks like the blade from the officer upgrade kit, but it's got sergeant badging on it, and the arm's in a really weird position. It looks like the arm's short and stubby. Now you could always cut off the sergeant's badging right there and put it on anybody, but I don't know too many people actually put power swords on their sergeants. Kind of weird. I mean, people used to do the bolters, but now people just run them bog standard. I guess options are always nice, but it just seemed like a really weird option, especially having that arm in that weird position that it is. But it's something. Hopefully they come in the standard Platoon boxes without the price increasing, but I think the way they would do it would be to sell them separately like they do to the Primaris sprues. It's hard to say. We'll have to see what comes with that, because there's a lot of heads in there. There's a lot of variety in there, but I think most people just want them to make 10 packs of the respirator heads. I guarantee you if they made a 10-pack of the respirator heads, it would sell 5-10 times more than the other kit. Guaranteed, because people have always wanted the respirator helms. That was probably the best-selling Cadian thing on there, was the pack with the respirator helms, but they only had like 6 or 7 in the pack, and they were 40-year-olds, so they're grossly overpriced. But we'll see what happens. Right now I am trying to assemble the rest of the command squad for the first officer. I'm thinking about just putting in a heavy weapons team for support. Traditionally I wanted to go with a mortar for a more modern army, but I always loved the autocannon. Pom-pom gun was my boy back in the day, but since he's going to be relatively close to these guys, probably within 18 inches for some mortar action, maybe a las cannon might be better. It's hard to say. I was considering, when I get the first 3 platoons out, adding in a 3rd platoon to each one and having a 8-man squad with a heavy weapon team in them to support the first 2 waves of Zerg Rush with some little bit of firepower, maybe a heavy bolter. That's what I'm thinking. And I went ahead and bought another, well, I think it's the first time I actually got a Cadian Defense Force. I've been going about with my traditional army. I still have about another like 60 guys and officers in a box somewhere, but I cannot find that box. So that would technically be an entire platoon to finish if I could ever find that box. It's driving me nuts because there's only so many places it could be. But that is what I have for right now. I'm also trying to convert some Gibberjaeger Mountain Squad for bolt action, as well as a King Lehman Russ. It should be a super armored, heavy prototype variant of the Russ. I'm using Baneblade parts, so it's going to be dripping with armor and firepower, but maybe I can get that finished today. We'll see what happens. I think that's all I have for right now.